Hey everybody, Don Zoldi here, CEO, P3 Tech Consulting and publisher at Autonomy Global. And today we are here with WISPR Systems, America's trusted name in drone innovation. They just raised the bar with two new drones, and we're going to talk about those, SkyScout 2 and SkyScout 2 Plus. And today we have with us here John MacArthur. John is the VP of Sales and Marketing at WISPR, who's going to tell us all about the significant upgrades to these drones, why they did what they did, how it's more performance, how there's more performance and power with these, enhanced resilience, greater operational control, the whole shebang. So stick with us here, guys. Sit back and learn about these two incredible new drones and how you can fly further, safer, and more efficiently. So, John, great to have you as always.
Absolutely, Don. Thanks for having us back. I think releasing new drones is just about the most exciting thing that like a drone manufacturer can do, obviously. So this is a really exciting time for myself and the rest of the team over here at WISPR. So if you don't know WISPR, we rolled out of a startup accelerator at Mississippi State in 2017, and we've been building upon our innovation and skill set ever since in the surveying, mapping, and commercial inspection space. And so the SkyScout 2 and 2 Plus are the next innovation from us, and excited to get into some of the details with you here on this call.
Awesome. And by the way, John is a friend to the Dawn of Autonomy show. He's been on it. So if you want to go back and watch that original show, it's on Autonomy Global. And he's going to be on next month too. So we're going to see a lot of John, but this is great. Let's see a lot of your drones now. We've got a really cool video. Let's roll film. And John, walk us through what we're going to be seeing here.
Perfect. All right. So the first thing that we have upgraded here is the long-range collision avoidance. We'll get into that more in details. We have the SkyBoss hand controller that is also a big addition. We've got the dynamic climate control for keeping the internals cool or hot, depending on what's going on. We've also expounded upon our S-Port quick attach system to add some additional payload capability. We've brought along our EMI shielding to protect against towers. And then, it's a very portable design, under 5 pounds. We've got plane safe, hot swappable smart batteries that we've carried over from the SkyScout 1. And so a lot of key features being upgraded for these next two platforms. And we'll get into all the fun details.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot right there. And I know you iterated this drone, the original one, based on stakeholder feedback. So tell us a little bit about that process and kind of what you learned through it.
Absolutely. I mean, the SkyScout originally was an innovation based off the customer feedback from our original drone, the Ranger Pro. And so that created a new asset class of commercial drones. And we were very proud to innovate somewhere that no one has ever been before, being you have a small drone, but still had interchangeable payloads. So this is a US built system for surveying, mapping, and inspection specifically. Everything we've done is for those markets. And again, we have interchangeable payloads on a small drone, which is what everyone overwhelmingly said that they want and need. So the SkyScout 2 and 2 Plus series is just a major advancement from that platform. So we've improved virtually every aspect of that system so we can handle better conditions. We have better battery management. We have more intuitive mission planning. All these upgrades were driven directly from customer feedback. That's one of the things that I'm most proud of on how we operate at WISPR is, I think one firmware update ago, we had 27 big feature updates, and 22 of them were direct from customer feedback. We've got it on our website where it's just like, hey, request a feature, report above, all these different things. And we take that every single week and go through them, prioritize them, and then get them implemented. So again, we're really proud of that. That helps us design what the people want. It doesn't sound that complicated, but it can be more complicated than it sounds.
No, that's awesome. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, so just to kind of put a bow on that one. So it just the SkyScout 2 and 2 Plus are really a reflection of the evolution from our proven first generation platform into a more powerful and capable um, platform that raises the bar for what the professionals can expect in the field.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, you've got a lot of new features, and we're going to kind of walk through them one at a time. I want to start with this, what you call the S port.
Sure, I've got
First
it
of all,
right.
tell us what it is, and tell us why you added that.
Yeah, so let me see if I can get it in the camera where you can see it. So the S port is right here, and
Yeah, I can see that.
so the S port was designed with Grimsey out of Vietnam. So they're the gimbal, one of the best gimbal manufacturers on the planet. So, another thing that I'm really proud of with what we do here at WISPR is how well we work with others and foster relationships to help speed up our innovation. So working with Grimsey has been a key part of how quick we can do things. And this S port is really unique because power and data runs all through there. I mean, there's a large Chinese company that everyone almost in the commercial space has used in the past, and they are very used to and appreciate power and data running through that gimbal, so there's no external wires. And so we're able to bring that level of ease of use and intuitive workflow with that S port.
And so explain to me the implications of that. In other words, how does it improve on previous attachment systems or processes?
Sure. Yeah. So let's take our Ranger Pro, which is the platform that kind of launched us into the commercial mapping space about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
All the ports were on the outside of that drone. It's very easy to mount to and power up. But if you're running HDMI cables, you're running telemetry cables, next thing you know, you've got 5 exposed wires. And it is just a matter of time until one of those wires becomes frayed or bent or broken, it doesn't work, and someone is out in the field and they're not able to get their job done that day. And so we knew that we needed to internalize those cables to protect them, to just have a more resilient workflow for the folks that are out there in the field all day, every day, changing jobs, moving, shaking. So we knew we had to do it. And our partnership with Grimsey allowed us to do that, in a almost perfect way.
That is so cool. And you talked a little bit about payloads, John, and how the SkyScout is so plug and play. Tell me a little bit about the increased payload capacity with this new iteration.
That's right. So with the S port, we were able to add a little bit of what is the word I'm looking for? Strength to it to accommodate a heavier payload. And also we have upgraded motors that allow us to carry heavier payload without sacrificing flight time. So we're up a little over half a pound in overall payload capability, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about payloads, that is actually quite a bit. And so that brings, more payloads our direction. And then, all those payloads manufacturers that are out there, they're trying to make their payloads lighter. And so things just kind of keep coming to the SkyScout direction, which is great. So you have a kind of a future-proofed platform, for your operation.
So my understanding, of course, in the mapping and surveying arena, that you really may have kind of made your mark in LiDAR in particular is something you're targeting in terms of, having additional capacity to have maybe heavier LiDAR sensor payloads on the drone.
Absolutely. LiDAR is pretty much the biggest part of our business. We do more LiDAR than we do like photogrammetry inspection. And so the more LiDARs that we can carry, the better off our business is going to be and the more customers that we're going to be able to work with. So that extra half pound is a really big deal for sure.
So my understanding also, John, is that when you add more weight to a drone, you may very well decrease flight time. So talk to us about the flight time.
Yeah, so that was a motor upgrade that allowed us to add the flight time and the payload capacity all in one. So we have more efficient, stronger motors, so we can carry a little bit more without sacrificing that flight time. So we're 27 minutes of flight time plus or minus 3 minutes, just depending on conditions, what payload you're carrying, and all that.
Now, you mentioned the word resilience. That's super important, of course. The environment. I was just talking about. I was just coming home from into the Denver airport, and the lightning and the clouds and the weather is always an issue, right? So, how have you kind of accounted for that in this new drone in terms of temperature or climate control?
Sure. So we created a system internally called that we have called Temp Guard, and it's a dynamic climate control system that will cool the internals if they're getting too hot, and then it'll actually turn off if it is too cold and allow the drone to heat back up. But heat is one of the big killers of drones. The cold isn't as big of a deal as the heat, but the heat is certainly a big deal, especially down here. We're in Mississippi. I was just talking to somebody about how hot it was this summer. We had a month stretch where I think our average heat index was over 103.
Oh
Some
my
days,
God, in
I was
Mississippi.
like,
And it's not even a dry heat like Vegas.
no, it's a wet heat. We're talking
Come
95%
on.
humidity. So it's like the worst of the worst. Yeah. But work still needs to get done. And so we're really excited about Temp Guard and what it's going to do. So, the internals of the drone, the speed controllers, the radios, all those electronics, that's like the heartbeat of your drone, basically. And
Right.
they can get extremely hot and to the point where they can catch fire. And so we have fail safes built in on all of these to where if you get close to that point where they're going to shut off, we're going to give you an alert, say get home. And if we can't get home, we're like, all right, we're coming down now. Like we just have to. It's a critical thing. So being able to protect the drone from the heat specifically is a really big deal. We were flying out and got to test it in that 110-degree heat index.
Oh, wow.
Great success. So we're extremely excited about that. So we're keeping the drone about 33% cooler than the SkyScout 1 series due to that.
Oh, yeah. I greatly appreciate how he could be, as you said, a real killer for drones. Conversely, I think the cold is a big factor, right? In terms of sucking battery life. I've got a
Oh,
Tesla.
sure.
I don't take it when I go skiing because it's just going to suck battery in the parking lot sitting there. So how have you accounted for the other end of that spectrum?
Sure. So, like I said, those things heat up very quickly and can get really hot. And it doesn't make sense to be cooling your drone if it's cold outside. So you can turn your drone on and the fans and stuff will not run and allow the drone to heat up to a normal operating temperature.
Oh, okay. That's pretty.
So that's where the dynamic climate control kind of comes into play.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm headed to North Dakota here for their summit, in the next month or so, and that we had a saying in the Air Force: "Why not? My not? Freezing's the reason." If you can account for the cold with your drone, that's also very important. But let's talk a little bit more about power. So you've created this thing called Smart Core, and it's this power distribution system. You've added these engines. Tell me about Smart Core and how this is all working together.
So Smart Core was another innovation due to just needing redundancy. If you have one, you have none in some certain situations. So I know,
and hope is not a plan, as we say.
That's right. That's right. So, just having a more redundant management system to ensure that you have clean, reliable power built in. So we've got multiple checkpoints now that we're checking for all this. So, we've done different. So here's one of our batteries right now. So it runs on 2 plane safe hot swappable smart batteries. They're 99 watt hours. So you can take them on a plane with you, which is convenient.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it is super.
And they look pretty small, relatively speaking.
Yeah, here's my phone. Like they're.
Oh, okay, all right. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, they're not big, but we've had multiple iterations on the firmware of those batteries just to make sure we're getting more data. Originally, when we got them, we were only getting 1 readout every 3 seconds. Now we're getting 12 a second or something. So we've done things like that in order to be able to again ensure that clean, reliable power. And so we're monitoring 12 times a second now on how everything's going. And we're able to pick up on if, hey, is this battery gone bad for some reason? Is it getting too hot for some reason? And because it's just all about safety and keeping your equipment safe, but also, your operators and anyone else that could be near your operation.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've added a lot to the computer logic there. And this term redundant management, you kind of mentioned it, but like, how exactly does that work?
So when I talk about redundant in this situation, so we have multiple power management systems and different features to track the health and enforce the fail safes. So, I'm not an engineer and I don't know how many fail safes that we have on these batteries and how many different ways that we attack it.
But it's
But it's
more than the one original one you had.
yeah, you just learn a lot over a year and a half, and now that we're getting so many more readings per second, we can track a whole lot better on how everything is rolling. So if one system goes down, we've got a backup system in place there again with the redundancy to make sure if there is an issue, we do catch it and it does hit the fail safe again, just keeping everybody safe.
Okay, now you've used the word clean a couple times in terms of power, and we've all heard clean, I think, in terms of energy, right? You think green, frankly, you think battery powered, but when you're talking about actual clean power, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I had to do a little bit of learning on this when I was talking about why this is important. And so they pulled up some battery logs for me to show me what clean energy and dirty or clean power and dirty power really looks like. And so on the graph, the clean power is just smooth lines, the whole thing, like it's just constant. And then the dirty energy, I mean, the graph is bouncing all around. I mean, it's the easiest, just kind of eye test comparison. Like a 5-year-old can pick out the dirty versus the clean. And the problem with the dirty or noisy power is it can cause power system failure. I mean, this happens in, household electronics. This happens in anything. So it was a nice, electrical engineering lesson for me to figure out why that's important and why it's a problem. And then, we're helping keep it, clean with the different battery management systems that we have in place.
Okay, well, I'm learning a lot today, and I definitely learned something about clean power, which I didn't know either. So that's really cool. All right, reliability, very key, especially as people go beyond visual line of sight. The kind of operations you're talking about, John, that your stakeholders use on a daily basis, for those different jobs. When you say reliability, what do you mean by that?
So when we think about reliability, we think about design. We want to design a system, and it's the whole ethos of our tagline, "Power to the Pro." It's like we want to empower the professionals to do their best work all the time. And if you have to worry about, is my drone going to work? That takes you away from your core mission, which is gathering some sort of critical data so you can make a decision. And
Yeah.
so reliability is just we want to make sure that everything we do is kind of rowing that direction. And so like our temp guard, the battery management systems that we've worked with SmartCore, our hand controller, all these different things add to that level of reliability.
Yeah, and all of this comes down to not only the ability just to do operations well, but also to do them, of course, safely. There's
Mhm.
always like a safety component to everything you're doing. So tell us about terrain sense. Like, what is it? Why is it so important?
So here we go. Here is terrain sense. So it is this these circles here on the bottom. That's a LiDAR sensor that's aiming towards the ground, and we do a couple things with that LiDAR sensor. One is we can use live terrain following with it, and so that's for our mapping customers, it's critically important. So
Right.
if there's small elevations in your flight pattern, it can have a major impact on both the data quality and even the mission safety. So photogrammetry, LiDAR, the altitude directly affects your GSD and your point density. And so even if the aircraft's just a few meters off from the planned altitude, you can have a bunch of inconsistencies, uneven data overlap, and just a bunch of stuff that leads you to get at the end of the day, a bad data set, which is
Now, you mentioned GSD. I'm going to go back that acronym for those that don't know. I'm sure many do. If you're following John and want to know about his mapping drone, it's ground sampling distance. So, yeah,
That's
sorry
right.
about that, John. I had to cut in there.
No, throw it in there for sure.
Yeah.
And so you're having a precise altitude is also about safety. That's a safety factor. If you're supposed to be flying at 200 and for whatever reason, you're down at 110 10 because you didn't have terrain falling on and you're in a mountainous area, you
Yikes.
know, you're going to fly into a tree or the side of the mountain. I mean, it does happen out there. So, accuracy is going to tie to your data integrity and then operational safety as well with that.
And how high up from the ground, above ground level, do these sensors actually work? So if they're on the underbelly, they're looking down, on the terrain, how high up can they see things?
It's roughly 330 feet.
Okay, that's pretty
solid.
awesome considering, 400 your 400 AGL is your ceiling. So you're almost you're up there. And this thing is working. So I understand you also have Pathguard. I think it's on the front and back.
That's right.
Tell me what that is and how it's different than
same sensor that we use on the terrain sense but it's on the front and the back now.
Okay.
So forward and backward facing obstacle collision avoidance with Pathguard. And this is a detect and stop type situation. So we're able to detect out 164 feet now, when previously we're talking like 30, 40 feet. And so
that's
significantly longer range to be able to pick up a potential obstacle, and you'll get a notification on your hand controller as you approach that obstacle. And then it will alert you like, hey, this is why the drone stopped. And then you will have the ability to adjust your flight pattern or do what you need to do to make sure you can continue your mission safely.
Okay. Excellent. I know with, everybody's abuzz with the FAA's notice of public rulemaking for Part 108 beyond visual line of sight. And like these features you're talking about, John, seem to play directly into at least the proposed requirements, right? Like so much in terms of autonomy, automation, detect and avoid, collision avoidance. So that's awesome that you're kind of pre-postured for this. And we'll see what the final rule is, but at least the proposal, you seem to be tracking on that. So you mentioned in the beginning EMI. I know that's another acronym. That's electromagnetic interference, right?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I got it right. Okay.
Yeah,
So how have you kind of upped your game in terms of EMI protections for these drones?
Absolutely. So EMI is the second great killer of drones along with heat. EMI, when you start having that interference with your GNSS signals, your communication links, your other onboard electronics, IMUs, magnetometers, flight controllers, if the drone doesn't know where it is, it starts acting wonky and can do some different things. If you've ever been in the tower game long enough, you've seen drones, we call it the toilet bowl, where it just loses where it's at and just starts swirling around real fast. I mean, it's not.
Or you could call it the death spiral.
Yeah, it's a death spiral for sure. And so we learned early on, because you go back and watch our original conversation about our origin story. But the first thing we did as a company was point-to-point site survey, setting up wireless internet. And so we did a lot of tower work while we were in there. And so we had to figure out how to handle EMI. And we've made advancements over time. We're always looking at ways to make that better. Long story short, we have a airplane grade shielding that we absorb and dissipate the EMI rather than try to reflect it, which we haven't had an EMI problem since I've joined the company. I mean, we figured that out long before I was here 4 years ago. So we bring that along, and we like to talk about it because it is certainly a competitive advantage for us, especially as we get more into the commercial inspection market with the dawn of, our SkyBoss hand controller here, which is the very inspection specific hand controller.
Yeah, and I believe you call the EMI protection your signal shield.
Signal shield, yeah.
Okay, I love that. So pick up that controller. Tell us more about this controller, and you call it the SkyBoss?
SkyBoss, yeah.
Okay, tell us about it.
Yeah, we kicked names around, and like we didn't want to do like a generic acronym and a number or something. And Connor, our founder, came up with SkyBoss one day, and I was like, it grew on me over the day. I was like, let's just roll with SkyBoss. So we've been working on this for a while. This is a custom hand controller that we had a group build for us. So it has all all the bells and whistles that people want. It's a 7-inch screen, 2000 nit brightness. It's been drop tested to the military standard 810, IP55 rated, AES 256 encryption, multiple roll wheels, hot swappable batteries, 6-hour battery life. The backside has, more programmable buttons for you. I mean, I don't even know what we're gonna do with all these buttons yet, but I'm sure our customers will tell us.
And give you more suggestions to iterate and improve it even further, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
One thing you didn't mention, which I know is important because you were talking about heat, think sun, it's also sunlight readable.
Oh yeah. That's like a really big wow factor when we've taken this out in the field to show people for the first time. I mean, it is as clear as day. Like you would think that you were inside, even in direct blinding sunlight. The brightness on this thing is really next level. I don't think I've ever seen a screen this strong.
Okay. And you said 7-inch how does that compare to like maybe a previous iteration?
Sure. So our Hearlink hand controllers have about a 5.5-inch screen. That 1.5 inch or whatever doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about screens, it makes a pretty big difference.
Now I'm in learning mode, John, and you mentioned a word that I'm not familiar with. You said nits, NITS, 2000 nits brightness. First of all, what is that, and why do we care?
All right. Yeah. Here's another one that I had to learn as well.
Okay, it's not just me.
So, like a nit is the brightness of one candela per square meter, and so that's basically measured on like what the human eye can see. Its direct brightness at you is really what that means.
And so you had picked up your cell phone earlier. Compare like an average cell phone in terms of nits to this screen's brightness.
So a normal cell phone is going to be somewhere between like 500 to 800. Some other professional monitors or drone controllers out there might be around 1,000. So to get up to the 2,000, I mean, you are extremely bright. That sunlight readable is a really big deal for these folks. Again, they're out in the sun all day doing these inspections. They need to be able to see a cotter pin on the screen.
Yeah.
So we have sensors to get you to do that can get you tight. But if you can't see it on your hand controller clearly, you don't know if you're getting the data that you needed. So we wanted, that takes a long time too. So this is a NDAA 848-817 blue list pending hand controller. And to be able to find a screen of this quality with a secure supply chain is not easy at all.
Yeah. I mean, no joke. Not only that, John, but, it's rugged too, right? So you're talking about military clients, but, just being out on an inspection site, this thing needs to be robust. So tell me what you build into this controller that makes it so rugged.
Sure. The moment you pick it up, it just feels solid. Like it feels like a high-end piece of commercial grade technology for sure. So it's got some like rubber padding kind of on the edges. We've got all the different ports up top for you to be able to plug into.
Oh yeah.
But it went through the military standard 8110 drop testing for durability. So that goes through a bunch of different things during that evaluation process. You're doing temperature testing, humidity, vibration, shock, dust, all these other things. So to be able to pass that test is a great testament to the quality of craftsmanship that we had them put into this in order to meet the needs of our customers that are out there in the field.
So when you said drop test, I just figured, you're standing on something and you're just dropping this thing onto the ground. But man, it tests like you said, humidity, vibration, shock, dust, all of these things, because you think about, being in a deployed environment or on the battlefield or, just out in the field. That's so cool that you were able to do that. I imagine, not many people run through those paces in terms of OEMs. Building something like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty high standard and one that certainly doesn't have to be met. But again, we want to take things to the extreme because, people will drop stuff, like it's just inevitable that someone's going to drop their hand controller, and it's not a cheap one. It's not the most expensive, but it's also not cheap. And so you want it to be able to last.
Yeah. And, we talked about weather a couple times, heat, we talked about sun, this IPP 55 weather protection standard. Can you elaborate on that? Because again, these are standards that you're taking these, this equipment through the paces. Not everybody's doing this. You're doing it for a reason. What's the standard and why bother?
Yeah, so IP55, ingress protection, 55, one number's dust, one's water. And so it's different levels that you can withstand and operate under as far as the dust and water. There is no universal standard for hand controllers. We did not have to do this. But again, it's just one of those like next step into having, a more resilient platform for our customers. And they are out on job sites that are super dusty. I mean, we were doing demos this week with this platform. Right before this call, I was wiping the dust off the drone, so it didn't look too bad. Same with the hand controller. And so we need to be able to withstand those dusty environments. And I don't want you really flying out in the rain too much, but if you are out in the rain, it's not going to get ruined. Which is also, I've been caught in storms. I mean, at least 6 times that I can think of off the top of my head, where they just kind of roll in on you real quick. Next thing you know, it's raining, and you get down, get your equipment dry, wait for that sun to go away, and then get back to work.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And, again, all of these things also tie into safety. And we've been talking a lot about safety, of course. But, when I think about safety, I think the twin brother of safety, if you will, is security. And, some of your clients, they're working around critical infrastructure, obviously. Now we're talking some, blue kind of battlefield applications potentially. Tell us a little bit about this AES 256 encrypted transmission standard that you also meet.
All right, more acronyms here. Advanced Encryption Standard, AES 256. So it's basically just the government standard, like bar to cross. If you want to work with the government, your electronics better pass this standard. And so we're protecting the commands of the drone, the telemetry, the video feed, free from hackers or any kind of interference. But it's also important because it can protect against unauthorized control of the drone. It also ensures that no one's messing with your data. All these different things that, again, help protect the drone, ensure that you have a successful mission. And then, putting our SkyScout 2 Plus on the blue list is a big deal for us to be able to work directly with, the DoD and other federal agencies that require that level of cybersecurity. And so we meet that standard and have passed all those tests, and we're really excited about that.
All right, super cool. Now, we kind of sporadically throughout this conversation, we've been really indirectly talking about user interface, whether it's the handheld controller and the brightness of the screen, but you have a bunch of different roll wheels. And I know about honestly, it's not something I've really used. I'm not a gamer. But when I got my Tesla, there's the little roll wheels on the steering wheel. I'm like, oh my God, what are these for? Because you up, down, sideways, push them in. You have several of these on this controller. Why is several better than one? And what was your thinking there?
Sure. So we knew that this drone and this hand controller were going to get us into the inspection market. That's what we wanted to do. We needed to plant our flag in the surveying and mapping space to build our brand. And we knew once we had a brand, that we can then move into the different industries. And we knew that this drone is really perfect for a lot of the commercial inspection market out there. So we knew we had to have a hand controller with the right screen, all these things. Our legacy hand controllers that we have, the HereLink Blue and Black, plenty for surveying and mapping folks. You plan your mission, the drone flies autonomously. But for the folks that are doing inspection, where you need to be able to control your zoom real easily, as well as the tilt of the gimbal all at the same time, and again, to find a cotter pin and get a very clear picture of is that thing even there anymore? Is it rusty? You need to have that control just at your fingertips. And so we knew that was a must on on this hand controller. And so that was one of like the initial in the requirements document that we put together. It was like has to have multiple roll wheels, or it's like almost table stakes for in the inspection market.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So, again, how quickly, I'm an operator, how quickly can I swap those batteries that we were talking about too?
It's under 20 seconds. I mean, it is.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I was filming a marketing thing yesterday, and we were videoing that. And 20 seconds is if you're going very slow and maybe the first time you've ever done it. I mean, it's like how long does it take you to change the battery out on a power drill? It's
Yeah.
about that simple.
Amazing. And, since we're talking about time, how long is runtime? We've got
6 hours on the hand controller on one of those batteries. And so, um, you know, in drone operations, I don't know anyone that doesn't have like battery stress from time to time on their hand controller or their drone. And so the longer you can have those things run on a battery, the better, just because that takes, again, a worry off of the pilot. And so they can focus on what they need to be doing as far as like, let's get the mission accomplished safely. I don't need to be stressed about my controller dying every 20 minutes.
Yeah,
So
that would
excited
not
about
be
that.
good. And
Takes
then
about
20
an
seconds to
hour.
swap it. Then 20 seconds to swap it.
Yeah, changing on the drone is pretty much just as quick as the hand controller.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe 30 seconds, I would say, if you've never done it before. I mean, you just slide one out, slide a new one in, slide
Yeah.
the other one out, slide the other one in, and
Yeah.
you're ready to get up and go. So hot swappable batteries on the drone and the hand controller.
Okay. Gotcha.
Which is really
Gotcha.
great.
All right. Very cool. So, I want to transition for a second. We've mentioned a bunch of different markets, but I want to be sure people are clear on, if they're doing a certain mission, what did you really design the SkyScout 2 Plus for in terms of missions?
Sure. So for the two series, so both drones, we designed it, to have a better drone for the surveying mapping market that we were already servicing, and then really the 2 Plus to get into the commercial inspection side, and then the 3D modeling kind of comes into that as well for cell towers, all that stuff, and then with the 2 Plus, getting it on that blue or green list is also a big accomplishment for us as well from a compliance standpoint, because that just opens you up to a whole new customer base, which is obviously a big deal.
Well, it is, people, kind of equate blue with DoD, and rightfully so, but a lot of other federal agencies have kind of adopted these standards, right? Even just by policy, and they tap into that GSA list. So, the fact that you're already moving forward on that is amazing, John. So congratulations in advance, because, and we're seeing that acceleration, right, across the government of, look, drones are a big deal. We need to be able to onboard these quicker. So looking forward to that. But in the meantime, how can people buy these drones, John? Like, where can they find them, and how can they learn more?
We are not hard to get in touch with. You can go to our website. You can fill out a form. That'll send you an email that you did it, and you have a link to book a meeting directly on my calendar after you do that. Happy to talk to anybody anytime about what we have. You could also call the sales line. I get calls all day long. And happy to learn more about your operation, what your needs are, tell you, how we can help, or if we can't help, and go from there. And then we also have a dealer network across the country of 27 different dealers. So you could always ask your dealer if they carry us, and then if they don't, send me their name and number. I'd love to talk to them too, and see if we can't increase our distribution. So,
well, that sounds good. And so, just to be clear, 2 drones. SkyScout 2 is available like right now.
That's right. Yep. So the SkyScout 2 is already shipping, and there's technically 3 drones. So we have like the SkyScout 2 with the black Here Link, which is no compliance but American made. SkyScout 2 blue Here Link, NDA 889 compliant. And then we have the SkyScout 2 Plus, which is SkyBoss hand controller. And that's the one that's 848, 817, and then green blue list pending. And that's shipping early October, first or second week of October.
Okay, so right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
And for the
We're
Fed,
busy on that
beginning
one.
of a new fiscal year, hopefully no government shutdown and they'll all have money. So that would be amazing.
That would be
Uh,
really busy. Yeah.
Perfect timing there, John. Perfect
No doubt
timing.
about
All
it.
right. Very good. Very good. All right. So thank you so much for introducing the world to these two new drones. I know you had, an intimate reveal with some key stakeholders out there at Commercial UAV in Vegas, and now this is kind of your, global worldwide premiere of these products, and we're just honored to be able to work with you on it. Once again, reach out to John, learn more. They've got a whole suite of products, obviously, some in the pipeline, some right around the corner, and doing great things across a whole host of sectors: surveying, mapping, inspections, critical infrastructure, military, government, all of it. So thanks, John, for what you do. Thanks for everybody for being here. That's all she wrote. We are out here.